Humanity's first contact. Captain Ethan Reese stood on the bridge of the UES Dauntless, his eyes fixed on the sleek alien craft that had just appeared on the view screen. It was a historic moment for humanity, first contact with an extraterrestrial species. Yet there was no celebration, only tense anticipation. "Hail them," Reese ordered, his voice steady despite the nerves he felt. This was what he had trained for, what Earth had been preparing for since the formation of the United Earth Space Fleet decades ago. A melodic alien voice filled the bridge, translated by their comm system. "I am Ambassador Zafira of the Kailani Star Empire. We come in peace." On screen, the alien's face appeared, strikingly humanoid, with luminous silver skin and piercing violet eyes. Reese responded, "Ambassador Zafira, I am Captain Ethan Reese of the UES Dauntless. On behalf of the people of Earth, welcome." He tried to read her expression, but found it inscrutable. "We are honored to make your acquaintance." Zafira tilted her head slightly, an oddly condescending gesture. "Yes, I'm sure you are. Your species has much to gain from contact with a civilization as advanced as ours. We look forward to guiding you." Reese bristled at her tone, but maintained his composure. "That is very generous, Ambassador. We are always eager to learn. Perhaps we could arrange a meeting to discuss the future of our peoples." "Of course," Zafira replied smoothly. "We will send coordinates for you to meet us on the surface. I trust your primitive shuttles can manage atmospheric entry." Her lips curved into a patronizing smile. Reese gritted his teeth but kept his tone even. "Our shuttles are quite capable, I assure you. We will meet you planetside." He nodded to his communications officer to end the transmission. As the view screen went dark, the bridge erupted into excited chatter. "Did you see that? Real aliens. They were so shiny. I don't like her attitude, acting like they're so much better than us." Reese raised a hand for silence. "All right, people, let's stay focused. This is a momentous occasion for humanity. We need to put our best foot forward." He turned to his first officer, Commander Nyla Singh. "Nyla, assemble an away team. Include Dr. Kensington from Xenobiology and Lieutenant Zhang from Linguistics." Singh nodded crisply. "Aye, Captain." She strode off to make the arrangements. As the Dauntless moved into orbit, Reese stared out at the blue-green world below, Earth's closest extrasolar colony, and now the site of humanity's first contact with aliens. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about the Kailani. Zafira's arrogance, the way she talked about guiding humanity. What were their true intentions? The away team assembled in the shuttle bay, excitement and trepidation mingling in the air. Dr. Amalia Kensington, the fleet's top xenobiologist, was practically vibrating with eagerness. "I never dreamed I would get to study extraterrestrial life firsthand." Lieutenant Kevin Zhang, the linguistics expert, looked more cautious. "I just hope our translation software can handle their language nuances. We can't afford any misunderstandings." Commander Singh, ever the pragmatist, checked her phase pistol. "Let's just hope this Star Empire is as peaceful as they claim. Keep your guard up, people." Reese entered the bay, his own sidearm prominent at his hip. "All right, team, this is it. We're about to step into the pages of history. Whatever happens down there, remember, we represent all of Earth. Make humanity proud." The shuttle ride to the surface was tense, each team member lost in their own thoughts. As they touched down at the coordinates provided by the Kailani, Reese took a deep breath. "Here we go." The alien structures that greeted them were breathtaking, soaring silver spires that seemed to defy gravity, glowing with an inner light. Amidst this technological splendor stood Zafira and her delegation, a dozen Kailani that radiated haughty superiority. "Captain Reese." Zafira's voice was honey over steel. "Welcome to New Arcadia, our latest colonial acquisition." She raised an elegant hand to indicate the city rising around them. "Impressive, isn't it? But then, I suppose to your species, even basic Kailani constructions must seem miraculous." Reese forced a smile, trying to ignore the condescension dripping from her words. Your city is very beautiful, Ambassador. I hope that we can learn from each other's architectural styles. Saphira's violet eyes glittered with amusement. Oh, I'm sure we have much to teach you. Come, let us adjourn to the council chamber. We have important matters to discuss regarding your planet's future. As they followed the aliens into a grand crystalline hall, Dr. Kensington murmured, "Their biotechnology is amazing. The way they've integrated organic and inorganic components." She trailed off as Saphira shot her a sharp look. In the chamber, Rhys and his team sat across from the imperious Kalani. Saphira leaned forward, her posture regal. "Now then, let us dispense with the pleasantries. The Kalani Star Empire has decided to extend our benevolent protection to your species. Earth will become our newest protectorate." Rhys stiffened. Protectorate. With respect, Ambassador, Earth is an independent world. We are not seeking outside governance. Saphira laughed, a tinkling sound devoid of warmth. "Oh, Captain, you misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. The choice has already been made, by us. Your species is simply too primitive, too disorganized to be left to your own devices. By joining the Empire, you will reap the benefits of our advanced culture and technology, under our guiding hand, of course." Lieutenant Zhang spoke up, his voice tight. "This sounds more like subjugation than protection." Saphira's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Have a care how you speak, Lieutenant. The Kalani are not accustomed to impudence from lesser species. You would do well to embrace your new status, for your own good." Rhys stood abruptly. "I think we've heard enough. Earth will not submit to alien rule, no matter how benevolent you claim it to be. We determine our own destiny." The Kalani ambassador rose to her feet, somehow towering over them despite her slender frame. "You dare reject our generosity? You humans don't know what you're doing. Without our guidance, you will destroy yourselves." "We'll take that chance," Rhys growled. He turned to his team. "We're leaving. Now." They began striding towards the exit. Saphira called after them, her voice icy. "This is not over, Captain. The Kalani do not take refusal lightly. You have no idea the forces you are dealing with. We will have Earth, one way or another." As they left the chamber, hurrying back to their shuttle, Commander Singh muttered, "Well, that went well. So much for peaceful first contact." Dr. Kensington looked shaken. "I can't believe it. They want to conquer us. All my excitement to meet aliens, and it's just another empire looking to expand." Rhys's face was grim as they boarded the shuttle. "Looks like humanity's greatest challenge is just beginning. The Kalani may have superior technology, but they underestimate the strength of the human spirit. One way or another, we will face them, and we will prevail." As the shuttle lifted off, speeding away from the alien city, Rhys stared out the window, his mind racing. This was only the opening salvo in what he feared would become an interstellar war for the fate of Earth. But in that moment, he made a vow. "To all of humanity, I will fight for you. The Kalani will learn that we are not so easily conquered. Earth will never submit. We will resist to our last breath if we must. This is Captain Ethan Rhys, signing off." Alien deception. News of the Kalani's ultimatum spread like wildfire across Earth and its colonies. The world was divided. Some favored capitulation, believing resistance against such an advanced species was futile. But many more rallied behind Captain Rhys's defiant stand. They would not surrender their freedom without a fight. Amidst the mounting tensions, a second Kalani ship entered the Terran system, requesting permission to dock with the Dauntless. Wary but curious, Rhys allowed it. He was surprised when only a single Kalani emerged, a striking female with iridescent emerald skin and eyes like molten gold. Unlike Saphira's haughty bearing, this one radiated a disarming charm. "Captain Rhys, I am Keelan, second emissary to Saphira." Her voice was warm honey, her smile inviting. "I apologize for my superior's harshness in our previous encounter. She can be overzealous." Rhys regarded her cautiously. Her zeal seemed more like naked imperialism to me. Are you here to reiterate your empire's demands? Keelan laughed softly. Quite the opposite. I come with an olive branch. The Kelani recognized that our approach was perhaps undiplomatic. We wish to begin anew, to foster a genuine partnership between our species. Despite himself, Reese found her earnestness compelling. I'm listening. Keelan's eyes sparkled. The Kelani have so much to offer humanity. Advanced tech, medical breakthroughs, unprecedented prosperity. And all we ask in return is friendship, a unity of purpose. Reese's brow furrowed. And what would this unity entail exactly? Keelan spread her hands expansively. We envision a great alliance, your strength combined with our wisdom, your potential guided by our experience. Together, we could usher in a new golden age for both our kinds, a true symbiosis. Even as Reese's instincts whispered caution, he couldn't help but be drawn in by her vision. An end to war, to want, to suffering. It was tantalizing. And yet, he met Keelan's mesmerizing gaze. I will consider your proposal, but humanity will not be subsumed. Any alliance must be one of equals. Her smile widened, victorious. But of course, Captain, I wouldn't dream of anything less. As Keelan's ship departed, Reese felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps there was a chance for peace after all, if the Kelani could be reasoned with. But that hope was short-lived. Mere hours later, long-range sensors detected Kelani ships amassing at the edges of the solar system, a massive invasion fleet. Reese's blood ran cold. Keelan's overtures had been a ruse, a distraction to buy time for Kelani Armada to get into position. Fury and despair warred within him. Humanity had been played for fools, seduced by honeyed words, or their doom assembled unhindered. But even as the weight of their plight settled on him, Reese felt a grim resolve harden in his core. Sapphira's face filled the view screen, triumphant and mocking. Did you really think we would bargain with chattel? Your species is now forfeit. Earth and all its colonies will submit to Kelani rule, or burn. Reese's eyes blazed with defiance. We may be outmatched, but we are not powerless. If you want Earth, you'll have to pry it from our cold, dead hands. We will fight you to the last man, woman, and child. And I promise you this, you will bleed for every inch of ground you take. Sapphira sneered. Bold words, ape. Let us see how long your bravado lasts against the might of the Kelani war machine. The screen went dark. Reese turned to his crew, his voice ringing with conviction. This is it, people. The battle for Earth begins now. We may be the underdogs, but never forget, we are human. We have faced down extinction before and clawed our way back from the brink. We have endured ice ages, plagues, world wars. We have split the atom, conquered the void of space. We are the inheritors of a legacy of survival against all odds, and we will not go quietly into the night. A ragged cheer went up from the bridge crew, a defiant roar that echoed through the ship. Reese felt a surge of pride. Let the Kelani come. Humanity would give them a war they'd never forget. As the crew scrambled to battle stations, an incoming transmission alert flashed. Reese frowned. Who could be calling now, on the eve of invasion? The view screen resolved into the face of Keelan, her expression anguished. Captain Reese. Thank the stars I got through. I swear to you, I did not know the fleet's true purpose. Sapphira lied to me as well. Please, you must believe that my desire for peace and cooperation was genuine. Reese glared at her, unmoved. Why should I believe a word you say, after how your people have deceived us at every turn? Keelan's eyes shone with desperate sincerity. Because I am not like them, Captain. I joined the diplomatic course to spread a message of unity, not to enable conquest. When I learned of the invasion plans, I knew I could not be party to such evil. I had to warn you. Reese studied her closely, torn. Could this be yet another trick? But something in Keelan's face, in her voice, rang true, and Reese knew that Earth would need every ally it could get in the coming fight. He made a decision that might down them all, but might just be their salvation. I'm placing a tremendous amount of trust in you, Keelan. I pray that it is not misplaced. Relief and resolve mingled in her golden eyes. I will not let you down, Captain. For the sake of both our peoples, I will stand with humanity against the darkness of my own kind's ambitions. Together, we will find a way to stop them. We must. Rhys nodded grimly. Then let us begin. He turned to his crew. Signal all ships, all colonies. Prepare for imminent hostile contact. Activate planetary defense grids. And send out a general distress call on all frequencies to anyone who will listen. This is Earth calling. We are under attack by an overwhelming alien force. We call upon all peaceful species, all who value freedom. Stand with us now, in our darkest hour. He straightened his uniform, a man carrying the weight of worlds on his shoulders. We are the line between humanity and the abyss. Hold fast and never yield. For Earth. The crew responded as one, for Earth. And with that battle cry, the Terran fleet surged forth to meet the oncoming Kalani tide. The war for the soul of two species had begun. Will Captain Rhys and Keelan's fragile alliance be enough to turn the tide? Can humanity hope to resist the awesome power of the Kalani Star Empire? The fate of Earth hangs in the balance as the constellations tremble with the fury of 1,000 suns. Stay tuned for the next thrilling installment of Apocalypse Rising. All ships, concentrate fire on the dreadnought. Rhys roared, pour it on. The Terran fleet unleashed everything they had, a fusillade of destruction that hammered at the massive alien vessel. For a moment, it seemed like it would be enough. But then the dreadnought's shields flickered and held, and it began to return fire with devastating accuracy. It's no use, Keelan cried. The dreadnought has its own isolated command system. My virus can't touch it. Rhys's mind raced. There had to be a way, and then it hit him. A plan so desperate, so insane, that it might just work. He opened a channel to the fleet. All ships, this is Rhys. I'm taking the Dauntless in close quarters. We're going to ram the dreadnought. Shocked silence, then a babble of protests. Captain, no. It's suicide. Rhys, you can't. He silenced them with a look. We don't have a choice. That ship is the key. If we can take it out, the Kalani will be headless, devastated. It's the only way to save Earth. He stood tall, resolute. It has been an honor serving with you all. The finest crew, the finest friends I could have ever asked for. Remember us. Remember that we fought to the last, for the sake of all we held dear. Tears in her eyes, Keelan stepped forward. I'm coming with you. Rhys started to protest, but she cut him off. My knowledge of Kalani systems might give you a fighting chance. And besides, she managed a watery smile. I could never let you face this alone. He clasped her hand, a wealth of unspoken emotion passing between them. Then he turned to his helm officer. Set course for the dreadnought, full speed. The Dauntless leaped forward, engines straining as it hurled itself toward the looming alien ship. Around it, the remnants of the Terran fleet threw themselves at the Kalani with reckless abandon, buying their flagship precious seconds. The dreadnought swiveled to face the oncoming Dauntless, weapons charging to full power. Rhys watched the ominous glow build, knowing they had only one shot. Steady, steady, now. Hard to port. The Dauntless jinked left just as a storm of energy beams lanced out, the searing light missing them by meters. Before the dreadnought could reacquire, they were upon it. Brace for impact, Rhys roared. Keelan's hand found his as the human ship, engines howling in a defiant war cry, rammed itself into the heart of the Kalani vessel. The world dissolved into fire and fury, metal screaming as it shredded and tore. The Dauntless embedded itself like a spear into the dreadnought's side, explosions ripping through both vessels. On the disintegrating bridge, Rhys pulled Keelan close. We did it, he whispered, blood on his lips. We gave Earth a chance. She smiled at him through her tears. I'm glad we're together at the end. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. They held each other as the light consumed them, two souls united in the face of oblivion. Their sacrifice would never be forgotten. From the wreckage of the dreadnought, a ripple of despair and confusion spread through the Kelani ranks. Zafara's voice, shrill with disbelief, echoed across the comm channels. Impossible. They dared. Seizing the moment of shock, the Terran ships pressed their attack with the fury of the righteous. Caught off guard and leaderless, the Kelani began to buckle. And then from the depths of space, a new transmission crackled across every frequency. Earth vessels, this is Admiral Valen of the Galactic Concord. Your distress call has been heard. Hold fast, the cavalry is coming. Hyperspatial rifts tore open across the battle space, disgorging a host of vessels of every shape and size. Allies summoned from across the stars, united in defense of a beleaguered world. The tide had turned. Humanity would not stand alone. Even in their darkest hour, the light of hope still burned, unquenchable and eternal. The human spirit, indomitable, would not be broken. The battle raged on, two sides locked in a titanic struggle that would echo through the ages. But one thing was certain: Earth would never submit. They would fight and bleed and die, but they would never surrender their freedom. For they were human, and they would hold the line. The price of victory. In the shattered ruins of the Kelani dreadnought, a miracle occurred. Amid the twisted metal and flickering fires, a pod burst open, revealing two battered but alive figures, Captain Reese and Keelan. They had managed to reach an escape pod just before the ship's destruction, a testament to their indomitable will to survive. But their joy was short-lived as they took in the scene of carnage around them. The battle still raged, the arrival of the Galactic Concord turning the tide, but at a terrible cost. For every Kelani ship destroyed, a dozen more seemed to take its place, an endless stream pouring from the depths of space. Reese and Keelan were picked up by a Concord ship, where they were ushered into the presence of Admiral Valen himself. The Admiral was an imposing figure, a being of pure energy contained within a suit of shimmering armor. Captain Reese, emissary Keelan, he rumbled, his voice a symphony of power. Your courage and sacrifice have bought us a chance. But the Kelani are far from defeated. Their empire spans 1,000 worlds, and they will not rest until Earth is theirs. Reese stepped forward, his eyes hard. Then we take the fight to them. We hit them on their own turf, where they least expect it. If we can strike at the heart of their power, we might have a chance of ending this once and for all. Valen considered this, his energy form pulsing thoughtfully. A bold plan, audacious, but it might be our only hope. He turned to Keelan. Your knowledge of Kelani systems and tactics will be invaluable. Can we count on your continued support? Keelan nodded without hesitation. To the end, Admiral. I will not rest until my people are freed from Zafira's tyranny and this senseless war is over. Reese laid a hand on her shoulder, a gesture of solidarity and perhaps something more. We're in this together. We'll see it through, no matter the cost. The cost, as it turned out, would be higher than any of them could have imagined. The combined human and Concord forces, led by the resurrected Dauntless, launched a series of daring raids into Kelani space. They struck at supply lines, shipyards, command centers, anything to weaken the Empire's grip. But for every blow they struck, the Kelani retaliated tenfold. Worlds that had sided with Earth burned, their populations enslaved or worse. The Concord lost ships and personnel at a staggering rate. Each light extinguished a knife to the heart of galactic freedom. And yet, they persisted. Driven by a righteous fury and an unbreakable spirit, the Allies fought on inch by bloody inch. At the forefront of every battle were Reese and Keelan, their bond forged in the crucible of shared struggle. They became legends, the indomitable human captain and the fierce Kelani rebel, a symbol of unity against oppression. But legends can bleed, legends can die. It was in the Battle of Kalan Prime, the very heart of the Empire, that the tide turned for the last time. The Allies had fought their way to the planet's surface, a world of towering cities and vast industrial complexes, the birthplace of the Kalani race. Saphira was there, her forces marshaled for a final stand. She met the invaders with a fury that seemed to set the very air ablaze, her eyes twin infernos of hate. In the streets and skies of Kalam Prime, the battle raged, a storm of fire and blood. Reese led the charge, the Dauntless carving a path of destruction through the Kelani ranks. At his side fought Keelan, her energy blade a whirling dervish of death. But even legends can fall. It happened in an instant, a moment crystallized in the chaos of battle. A Kelani war machine, a towering behemoth of metal and fury, bore down on the Dauntless. Reese saw it coming, knew that even his ship's mighty shields could not withstand the onslaught. Time seemed to slow. In that infinite heartbeat, Reese made a choice. With a last anguished look at Keelan, he wrenched the Dauntless's controls, sending the ship hurtling toward the war machine. Keelan's scream of denial was lost in the roar of impact as the Dauntless collided with the Kelani monstrosity, a sun of destruction blooming in the heart of the city. When the flames cleared, the war machine lay in ruins, and the Dauntless was nowhere to be seen. Keelan fell to her knees on the scorched earth, tears of molten grief pouring down her face. He was gone. The man who had been her rock, her partner, her everything. Gone in a moment of noble sacrifice, a true hero to the end. But there was no time to mourn. No time for anything but the cold fury that now consumed her. She rose, energy blade clenched in a fist of rage, and charged into the fray, a banshee howl on her lips. She would finish this. For him. The battle reached its climax in the throne room of the Kelani citadel, where Saphira waited, a spider in the center of her web. Around her, the last of her guard fought with the desperate ferocity of the doomed. Keelan carved through them like a scythe through wheat, her blade a blur of vengeful light. She didn't stop, didn't slow, until she stood before the Empress herself, the woman responsible for so much death, so much sorrow. Saphira rose from her throne, her own blade leaping to her hand. So the traitor returns. You think you can best me, whelp? I who have ruled 1,000 worlds. I who am the embodiment of Kelani's supremacy. Keelan said nothing. There was nothing left to say. Only one of them would walk away from this. They came together in a clash of blades and wills, a dance of deadly grace. Back and forth they fought, neither giving ground, neither showing mercy. But Keelan was driven by something more than skill or strength. She was driven by love, by loss, by a burning need to see justice done, and in the end, that was enough. With a final devastating blow, she shattered Saphira's blade and drove her own through the Empress's black heart. Saphira slumped to the ground, shock and disbelief etched on her face. Impossible, she gurgled, black blood bubbling from her lips. Defeated by a traitor and an ape. Keelan stood over her, eyes cold as the void. No, Saphira, defeated by something you could never understand. The power of the human spirit, the strength of unity. That is what has brought you low. And that is what will rebuild the galaxy in the wake of your tyranny. With a last rattling breath, Saphira, Empress of the Kelani Star Empire, passed from the universe she had tried so hard to conquer. And with her death, the war was over. The Kelani, leaderless and broken, submitted to the galactic concord. There would be a reckoning, a price to be paid for their crimes, but there would also be a chance for a new beginning. Keelan oversaw the transition, working tirelessly to bring her people into a new era of peace and cooperation. It was a long road, fraught with challenges, but she did not walk it alone. For even in the darkest of times, hope endures. It was months later, as Keelan stood on the bridge of the newly christened Starship Unity, that a familiar voice sounded behind her. Permission to come aboard, emissary. She whirled, her heart leaping into her throat. It couldn't be, but it was. There, standing in the doorway, battered but alive, was Captain Ethan Reese. How? Keelan whispered, scarcely daring to believe. Reese grinned, that same roguish smile that had captured her heart so long ago. You know me, too stubborn to die. He stepped forward, taking her hands in his. I ejected just before the Dauntless impacted, got picked up by a rescue shuttle, spent the last few months in a Concorde medical bay, getting put back together. Keelan shook her head, wonder and joy warring on her face. I thought I'd lost you. Reese pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers. Never. I will always come back to you, no matter what. They stood there, two souls reunited against all odds, a symbol of the unbreakable bonds that had brought the galaxy through its darkest hour. For they were more than just survivors, more than just heroes. They were the guardians of a new age, a shining beacon of unity and hope. And together, they would face whatever challenges the future held. For they were strong, they were determined, and they would never yield. A new dawn. In the aftermath of the Kalani War, the galaxy was forever changed. The old order had been swept away, and in its place, a new era of unity and cooperation was born. At the forefront of this new age were Captain Ethan Reese and emissary Keelan, the heroes who had sacrificed so much to bring about this brighter future. They were the shining beacons of hope, the living embodiment of the unbreakable human spirit. But peace, as they soon discovered, came with its own challenges. The Galactic Concorde, now the dominant power in the galaxy, was a diverse and sometimes fractious alliance. Old rivalries and new ambitions threatened to tear it apart from within, even as external threats loomed on the horizon. As the newly appointed ambassador of Earth, Reese found himself at the center of this maelstrom. He was the voice of his people, fighting for their interests in the grand halls of the Concorde Citadel. It was a role he had never sought, but one he embraced with the same unwavering dedication he had shown on the battlefield. Keelan, meanwhile, had taken on the monumental task of guiding her people into this new future. The Kalani, once the scourge of the galaxy, now had to find their place in a universe that viewed them with suspicion and hostility. It was a delicate balancing act, one that required all of Keelan's diplomatic skills and inner strength. Despite the demands of their new roles, Reese and Keelan made time for each other. Their bond, forged in the fires of war, had only grown stronger. They were partners, in every sense of the word. But even as they worked tirelessly to build a better future, shadows were gathering. A new threat was rising, one that would test the fragile peace they had fought so hard to achieve. It began with whispers, rumors of a powerful artifact from the dawn of galactic civilization. The Nexus, it was called, an ancient device said to grant godlike powers to whoever possessed it. Many dismissed the Nexus as a myth, a legend from a bygone age. But there were those who believed, who had dedicated their lives to uncovering its secrets. And now, after centuries of searching, they were close to their goal. The first sign of trouble came from the edges of Concorde space, where a series of brazen attacks left outposts shattered and populations terrified. The attackers were like nothing anyone had seen before, sleek, deadly ships that struck without warning and vanished without a trace. Reese and Keelan were tasked with investigating this new threat. They embarked on a mission to the frontier, the stalwart crew of the Unity at their side. But what they found there was beyond their darkest imaginings. The attackers were not raiders or pirates, as they had first assumed. They were the vanguard of a vast and ancient conspiracy, one that had been working in the shadows for millennia. And at their head was a figure of terrifying power and ambition. His name was Nexus Prime, and he claimed to be the living embodiment of the artifact itself. With the power of the Nexus, he planned to reshape the galaxy in his image, to create a new order where he reigned supreme. Reese and Keelan found themselves in a desperate race against time to stop Nexus Prime's plan. They chased him across the stars, from the glittering spires of the Concorde Citadel to the ruins of long-dead civilizations. Along the way, they uncovered secrets that shook the very foundations of galactic society. The Nexus, it seemed, was more than just an artifact. It was a key, a doorway to a realm beyond the understanding of mortal minds. As they drew closer to the truth, the danger grew ever greater. Nexus Prime's followers were legion, fanatics who would stop at nothing to see their master's vision realized. And Nexus Prime himself was a foe unlike any they had ever faced, wielding the power of the cosmos itself. The final confrontation took place on a world of ancient mystery, where the fabric of reality itself was thin. There, in the heart of a ruined temple, Reese and Keelan faced Nexus Prime in a battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy. It was a fight like no other, a clash of wills and powers beyond mortal ken. Reality warped and shattered around them as they struggled, the very laws of physics bending to their commands. In the end, it was not strength of arms or force of will that decided the outcome. It was something deeper, something more fundamental. It was the power of their bond, the love and trust that had carried them through so much. With a final, desperate effort, Reese and Keelan combined their essences, their very souls merging into a single, incandescent being of pure energy. In that form, they were able to channel the full might of the Nexus, turning its power against its would-be master. Nexus Prime was consumed in a maelstrom of cosmic fire, his form dissolving into the ether. The Nexus itself, its purpose fulfilled, shattered into a million shards of light, scattered across the stars. In the aftermath, Reese and Keelan found themselves changed, their mortal forms restored but imbued with a fragment of the Nexus's power. They had become something more than human, more than Kelani. They were the guardians of the galaxy, the living embodiment of unity and hope. Under their guidance, the galactic concord entered a new golden age. The old hatreds and divisions faded, replaced by a spirit of cooperation and shared purpose. It was a time of wonder and discovery, of exploration and adventure. And at the center of it all, the shining beacon that guided the way, were Reese and Keelan. The legend of their deeds, of their love and sacrifice, would endure long after they had passed into the realm of myth. For they had shown the galaxy the true power of the spirit, the unbreakable strength that lies within us all. They had proven that no matter the darkness, no matter the odds, hope and unity will always triumph in the end. Their story, the story of the human captain and the alien emissary, would be told and retold across the stars, an eternal testament to the indomitable will of all sentient beings. And so, as the galaxy turned towards a brighter tomorrow, the names of Ethan Reese and Keelan would forever be synonymous with one simple, unassailable truth: that in the face of adversity, in the darkest of times, the light of hope can never be extinguished. For it burns within us all, an eternal flame that will guide us to the stars and beyond. Legacy of the stars, years turned into decades, and decades into centuries. The galaxy continued to turn, civilizations rising and falling like the tides of a cosmic ocean. But through it all, one constant remained: the legend of Ethan Reese and Keelan, the heroes who had united a fractured universe. Their story had passed into the realm of myth, a tale told across 1,000 worlds. Parents regaled their children with the adventures of the human captain and the alien emissary, of their brave stand against the tyranny of the Kelani Empire and their ultimate sacrifice to stop the mad ambitions of Nexus Prime. But as with all legends, the truth had become obscured, buried under layers of exaggeration and metaphor. The real Reese and Keelan, the flawed but determined beings who had struggled and suffered and loved, had been lost to the mists of time. Until now. On a small, unremarkable planet on the edge of Concord space, a discovery was made that would shake the galaxy to its core. A team of archaeologists, excavating the ruins of an ancient temple, unearthed a vault that had lain undisturbed for millennia. Inside, preserved by advanced stasis fields, were the mortal remains of Ethan Reese and Keelan. The news spread like wildfire, igniting a galaxy-wide frenzy. The lost heroes had been found, a tangible link to a legendary past. But that was not all. With the bodies was a message, a final testament recorded before their deaths. In the recording, Reese and Keelan spoke of their journeys, their triumphs and their regrets. They spoke of the unbreakable bond that had sustained them, the love that had given them the strength to face the impossible. But most importantly, They spoke of the future. Our story's ending, Reese said, his holographic image flickering in the dim light of the vault. But yours is just beginning. The galaxy we fought for, the peace we won, it's in your hands now. We have seen what unity can achieve, Keelan continued. When beings of different worlds, different species, come together in common cause, there is nothing that can stand in their way. They went on to outline a vision of a galaxy united not by force or fear, but by understanding and compassion. A galaxy where the diversity of life was celebrated, where cooperation triumphed over conflict. This is our legacy, Reese said, his eyes shining with emotion. Not the battles we fought or the enemies we defeated, but the future we made possible. A future of hope, of promise, of peace. Their message ended with a simple plea. Remember us. Remember what we fought for. And most of all, remember that as long as there are those willing to stand together, to fight for what is right, the light will never fade. The impact of their words was profound. Across the galaxy, old grudges and rivalries were set aside as beings of every species and creed came together to honor the memory of the fallen heroes. In the Concord Citadel, a grand memorial was erected, a towering statue of Reese and Keelan standing hand in hand, their faces turned towards the stars. It became a place of pilgrimage, a sacred site where beings from all walks of life could come to reflect on the sacrifices of the past and dream of a better tomorrow. But the legacy of Reese and Keelan was not confined to monuments and memorials. It lived on in the hearts and minds of every being who had been touched by their story. In the bustling spaceports of the Concord's great trade hubs, humans and Kalani worked side by side, their once bitter enmity transformed into a friendly rivalry. On the frontiers of space, explorers and adventurers from a dozen species banded together to chart the unknown reaches, united by a shared spirit of discovery. And in the halls of power, a new generation of leaders emerged, beings who had grown up on the tales of Reese and Keelan's heroism. They were the inheritors of a dream, the custodians of a sacred trust. Among them was a young human woman named Aria, a direct descendant of Ethan Reese. She had grown up on the stories of her illustrious ancestor, had dreamed of following in his footsteps. Now, as the newly elected Prime Minister of the Galactic Concord, she had the chance to make that dream a reality. Under Aria's leadership, the Concord embarked on a bold new era of exploration and expansion. New worlds were discovered, new alliances forged. The boundaries of the known universe were pushed back further than ever before. But Aria knew that the greatest frontier lay not in the stars above, but in the hearts of those who looked up at them. She worked tirelessly to promote understanding and cooperation between all species, to break down the barriers that had divided the galaxy for so long. And in this, she drew inspiration from the example of her ancestors. In Reese and Keelan, she saw a model of what unity could achieve, of the incredible feats that were possible when beings set aside their differences and worked towards a common goal. Their legacy, she knew, was not a destination but a journey, a never-ending quest to build a better future, to reach for the stars and beyond. And so, as the galaxy entered a new era of peace and prosperity, the spirit of Ethan Reese and Keelan lived on. In every act of kindness, in every gesture of friendship, in every dream of a better tomorrow, their light endured. For they had shown the way, had proven that even in the darkest of times, hope and love will always triumph, that as long as there are those willing to stand together, to fight for what they believe in, the galaxy will never truly be lost. And so their story ended as it had begun, with a message of hope, a call to unity. A reminder that the greatest adventures are not those we undertake alone, but those we share with others. Reese and Keelan's legacy would endure long after their names have faded from memory, carried on in the hearts of all who dared to dream of a brighter future. For in the end, that was what they had fought for. Not glory, not power, but the simple, unassailable idea that together, we are stronger than we are apart. Together, there is nothing we cannot achieve. The end.